will. Be careful.
Like just to be just to get clicks. It was like you know, like a little bit of they had just came out with smartphones, but they were really expensive. All the like kids that like
In progress. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's a nice place. Okay, thank you.
On to the next Zoom meeting.
On to the next thing. Yeah.
Yes. Bye, Katie. Get some sleep tonight. Bye-bye. You can sleep on your side. Bye, Katie.
Turn it up.
No. You can turn it up right now.
Yes, you can.
You just stand right here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you to the September 23rd meeting of the Regional Planning Commission Board. We've been waiting there to make sure that we had enough to have a quorum. I think we see enough both in the room and attending electronically. So again, welcome, and I'll turn it over to Jarrett for a roll call.
Thank you. Honorable John Black,
Here.
Honorable Bernard Bowling,
Here.
Honorable John Logan Brent, Honorable Sean Carruthers,
Here.
Honorable Byron Chapman.
Here.
Honorable Beverly Chester Burton. Honorable Jack Kaufman. Honorable Bill Dira. Honorable David Eaton.
Here.
Mr. Kevin Beatty.
Here.
Mr. Jeff O'Brien for the Honorable Greg Fisher. Honorable Jeff Gahan. Mr. Keith Griffey.
Here.
Honorable Treva Hodges. Mr. John Park for the Honorable Dan Ison.
Here.
Mr. Andy Kraus for the Honorable Mike Moore. Honorable Todd Pollock.
Here.
Honorable John Riley. Honorable Joe Robinson. Honorable Jerry Summers.
Here.
Honorable Jim Travis. The Honorable David Vogel.
Here.
Mitzi, if you will, Mitzi, if you could join us as a member, voting member today, please. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
For those of you who are online, and those of you who are in the room during the voting, if you have a motion or second to make, please make it, state your name, and then we will do a vote with either a voice vote or a hand vote. Those of you who just want a hand vote, then you can mute your lines and you don't have to worry about the background. So next item on the agenda is minutes. Oh, sorry. All right, I'll handle it for you, John. What I'm looking for is a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
No move. Todd Pollock.
Second, John Black.
All right, we have four motions. We'll take two of them. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. August financial statements. Tom.
Thank you. In your packet, and it'll be coming up on the screen here in a second. Agenda item number 5, starting on page 25, is the August financial report. And after the first 2 months, we're a little over 17% through the year. And the first page is a summary of elements grouped by division. And I won't spend a whole lot of time talking, but if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But as always, early in the year, we have some costs that get paid early that might make something a little bit higher percentage, and we have some activity that might be concentrated in the first part of the year that's going to be shifted during the year. So as we get further into the year, we can see how our trends are. Obviously, at this point, we don't see anything that causes us any concern. Overall, obviously, by looking at this, each division is well within their spending. And problems. Following pages reflect the balance sheet, and it shows that we're in a sound financial. said if there's any questions anyone might ask, but we don't anticipate any problems. And balance sheet, and then the last part of the report is our agency-wide line item revenues and expenditures by line item. As I said, we'll have some stuff that might seem a little bit high because we either have activity earlier in the year or have costs that come in the full year. So there's nothing in the agency-wide report that causes us any alarm at this point. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions? Hearing none, looking for a motion and a second to approve the financials. So moved.
Second, Todd Pollock.
All right, have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item is approved. Moving on, funding opportunities.
Look at his dog.
Funding opportunities through EDA. I'd like to welcome Bertha Parton. She is the Economic Development Representative for the Kentucky Economic Development Authority. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to attend the board meeting this afternoon and present on EDA's programs. We have some very exciting programs that are available now through EDA, and I'm going to talk a little bit about those. I've got a PowerPoint to share, so I'm going to try sharing my screen here. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I am, again, Bertha Parton. I'm the Economic Development Representative for the entire state of Kentucky. My office is located in the state, so I'm well aware of the state and work with many applicants across the state to secure EDA funding. The Economic Development Administration, or again, as EDA as we typically call the agency, is a bureau within the U.S. Department of Commerce. It's charged with leading the federal economic development agenda by promoting innovation and competitiveness, preparing regions across America for growth and success. EDA achieves its mission by making strategic and transformative investments through a robust set of funding programs. These programs fund efforts across the continuum, from investments in critical infrastructure that builds rail lines, improves water and sewer infrastructure, or constructs buildings and roads, to planning and technical assistance programs, to programs that foster technology-driven businesses and access to capital. These programs assist communities across the nation, especially those suffering from distress, to build strong, durable, resilient economies. Of major importance to any EDA project is EDA's investment priorities. These priorities are used to evaluate the grants that EDA receives. These priorities were recently updated earlier this year, and as you can see, equity was identified as a top priority under the current administration. The equity priority emphasizes the focus on underserved and unserved communities and populations that have not been able to avail themselves to economic prosperity. Any application that EDA receives for a request for funding needs to identify how the project will foster equity. The recovery and resiliency priority illustrates EDA's commitment to opportunities to assist communities that have suffered economic loss or injury and help support recovery. The workforce development priority supports workforce education and skills training activities that result in good paying jobs. The manufacturing priority emphasizes the importance of manufacturing as the backbone of many communities, thus supporting projects that encourage job creation, business expansion, technology and capital upgrades, and productivity growth in manufacturing. The technology-based economic development priority acknowledges innovation and technology-based economic development and supports projects that foster entrepreneurs and startups, including the commercialization of new technologies. Environmentally sustainable development recognizes the need to build back better by supporting projects that help address environmental concerns, such as projects that support the development and implementation of green products, processes, places, and buildings. And finally, the exports and FDI priority is a long-standing priority that illustrates EDA's commitment to supporting growth in exports and increase in foreign direct investment. As I said before, EDA has a robust set of funding programs. The EAA program is one of EDA's most flexible programs. It focuses on areas that have experienced or are under threat of serious structural damage to the underlying economic base. Under the Economic Adjustment Program, EDA administers a variety of other programs, such as the RLF program. We also receive our disaster funding under this umbrella, and the American Rescue Plan funds that I'm going to talk in detail about in just a few minutes are also EAA funds. The Public Works Program empowers distressed communities to revitalize, expand, and upgrade their physical infrastructure to attract new industry, encourage business expansion, diversify local economies, and generate or retain long-term private sector jobs and investment. The planning program supports local organizations such as the economic development districts, Indian tribes, and other eligible areas with short and long-term planning efforts. EDA's Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship operates the Build to Scale program, which builds regional economies through scalable startups and includes support to entrepreneurship, acceleration of company growth, and increased access to risk capital across regional economies. The OIE, or Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, hosts an annual Build to Scale competition. That's something to look forward to. It hopefully we'll have one soon. Don't have a definite time frame for that competition, but if you register on EDA's website to receive our newsletter, you will receive all information on open funding opportunities. The Trade Adjustment Assistance for Firms program is a national network of 11 trade adjustment assistance centers to help strengthen the competitiveness of American companies that have lost domestic sales and employment because of increased imports of similar goods and services. Our University Centers program is a partnership of the federal government and academia that makes the varied and vast resources of universities available to the economic development community. Our Research and National Technical Assistance Program funds research, evaluation, and national technical assistance projects that promote competitiveness and innovation in distressed rural and urban regions throughout the United States and its territories. As you can see, EDA does have a vast number of funding programs that meet a lot of needs in distressed areas. Today, specifically, I want to talk to you about EDA's American Rescue Plan grant programs. EDA was allocated $3 billion in American Rescue Act funding to invest in Americans' communities. This is a historic investment. It's one of the largest investments EDA has received in numerous years. The American Rescue Act funding comes to us as a result of the national impact of the pandemic, and the programs, as you'll see as I go through those briefly, address some of the needs of those communities that are looking to build back better and put folks back to work, improve infrastructure. There is a lot of programs that target a variety of needs that stem from the pandemic. One of the first things that we'll look at is how is how the American Rescue Plan funding will invest in jobs and in communities and regions. We have 6 different NOFOs that were published, again, that meet a variety of needs. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going looking at this slide, so we're going to move on so we have time to talk about those programs in general. EDA does have a $300 million co-communities commitment. This is available in 2 of the competitions. There is no singular NOFO that targets co-communities, but there is a set aside that will support those communities that have been impacted by the coal industry as they try to recover from that shock to their economy, as well as the pandemic. As well, 25% of the $3 billion American Rescue Plan was designated by Congress to be utilized by communities that are suffering economic injury as a result of job and GDP losses in the travel, tourism, or outdoor recreation sectors. This visual kind of gives a layout of what those 6 NOFOs are and the dollar amount associated to each of those. I will share this PowerPoint so that this is a very good slide to have available if you want just some quick information on each of the programs. As you can see, the Build Back Better Regional Challenge is a $1 billion program that has a $100 million coal set aside. And the EAA program is a $500 million national competition that has a $200 million set aside for the coal impacted communities. But we're going to go through each of these quickly. The Statewide Planning, Research, and Networks is a $90 million program. It is divided into 2 components. There is a statewide planning portion that is $59 million. This is non-competitive grants that go to the state in order to assist them with planning needs that will help their state to move forward following the impact of the pandemic. Each state in the nation received $1 million. Kentucky has already submitted their application for that funding. There's also, as part of this NOFO, or Notice of Funding Opportunity, I'm going to be referring to it as NOFO, is the Research and Networks program. There's $31 billion available there. This is a national competition that's going to fund projects that study the implementation of EDA's American Rescue Plan programs. It'll help to identify valuable strategies, produce data, and identify trends that's going to help EDA in their future grant making. It's also going to fund communities of practice, which will allow key groups to receive assistance, like university centers, the RLFs, the EDDs, and we'll be working with our grantees to identify best practices and establish communities of practice, as well as it'll also help us support some of the American Rescue Plan programs. The Build Back Better Regional Challenge is a $1 billion program. It is a national competition. The Atlanta region did not receive its own allocation for this program. Again, it is a national competition. The proposals under this competition includes identifying regional coalitions, industry support, and academia support, local and state government support in terms of identifying and supporting a cluster or clusters in the area. There is one key coordinating entity that has to be selected per region that will serve as the lead applicant. The coalition will identify 3 to 8 projects per cluster that they will work to develop to have funded. And in this one, again, there is a $100 million co-communities commitment Projects under the Build Back Better Regional Challenge can include planning, it could be infrastructure, it could be workforce, it can be entrepreneurship. It is projects that will promote and support the identified cluster in the region. This program has a two-phased approach. Phase 1 is a technical assistance grant in the tune of $500,000 per region selected. These grants will be provided to the lead applicant to assist the coalition in finalizing the plans for their project clusters. And then there will be 50 to 60 regions that's going to move out of phase 1 as finalists. And then we will look at those finalists for phase 2. We will choose 20 to 30 of those regions to be awardees for phase 2. Phase 2 is the implementation portion of the project, in which the coalition identifies and submits applications for those 3 to 8 projects that will support the cluster. There is the opportunity to receive somewhere between $25 to $100 million per region for those 3 to 8 projects that are identified that will support the cluster that is identified. Again, there is a $100 million co-communities commitment that is built into the big Build Back Better Regional Challenge. We also have the travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation program. Overall, this is a $750 million program. This one also has 2 components. The first component is the non-competitive state grants. Kentucky received a little over $5 million under the non-competitive state tourism grant. This grant can help them do activities such as marketing and promotion. There was the opportunity to do some construction. The governor had the discretion to move ahead and identify the way that those funds were to be spent, as well as look at other agencies at the state level that may administer those. So the state has already applied for those funds. The Tourism Challenge Grants is a $240 million program nationally. However, the Atlanta region received a little over $24 million for projects in the Atlanta region. These projects that will be the most competitive for the tourism dollars are projects that have a multi-state or national focus in terms of, and it will also be for areas that can illustrate that they have had significant impact from the pandemic. So projects that look to have a multi-state or national draw and boost the tourism economy will be the most competitive. Under this challenge grants, a variety of projects can be funded. The only projects that can't be funding is marketing and promotions, because that is allowable under the state funding. So those are not eligible, but construction projects, planning projects can be some samples of projects that would be funded under the challenge grant. The Economic Adjustment Assistance Program, nationally, it's a $500 million program. EDA Atlanta region did receive their own allocation. We received approximately $100 million, and of that $100 million, approximately $51 million is set aside for coal-impacted communities. This is one of our most flexible programs. We can fund non-construction and construction projects. We can do workforce development centers, water, sewer. We can do incubators. We can do a variety of projects so long as, at the end of the day, they work to create jobs or retain jobs and spur private sector investment. We also have an Indigenous Communities program under the ARP funding. This is a $100 million national program. The Atlanta region received approximately $9.5 million. Our allocation was smaller because we only have approximately 5 to 7 federally recognized tribes in the Atlanta region. So the eligible applicants have to be federally recognized tribes. Since the number, our count is so low, our allocation was smaller under that program. However, this program will fund a wide range of technical planning, workforce development, entrepreneurship, public works, and infrastructure projects that will help Indigenous communities to move forward and recover from the impact of the pandemic. Okay, it's only open to Indian tribes, again, as defined in our regulations, which would be federally recognized Indian tribes, and nonprofits serving Native Hawaiians or nonprofits serving Native Pacific Islanders. We also have the Good Jobs Challenge. This, again, is a national competition. The Atlanta region did not receive its own allocation. This is a $500 million program. This program is centered to help provide the resources and opportunities to get folks back to work. There's 3 phases of it. There can be system development, which would be funding to help an organization establish and develop workforce systems and sectorial partnerships if those are not already in place. It can support program design, which funding skills training curriculum and materials, or securing technical expertise to train workers. Or program implementation. It's funding for non-construction projects to provide workforce training and connect workers with quality jobs, including wraparound services like daycare and transportation. Projects can apply under each of these components, or if an area already has a system in place that's working and they just need to apply under program design or program implementation, they can do so long as they can illustrate that they do have a successful program in place that can support the program implementation or the program design phases. And under the Good Jobs Challenge, the beneficiaries will be the unemployed or underemployed workers from underserved communities, incumbent workers from underserved communities with opportunity for upskilling and increasing their wages. Capital expenditures such as equipment purchases and training facility leases are permitted under this program. However, construction is not. So if you're looking for a workforce development center, the bricks and mortar to build a center, then you would possibly look at our economic adjustment assistance program and then look to the Good Jobs Challenge in order to provide the programming or establish the workforce development center and establish those sectorial partnerships that you need to make that workforce development center successful. And funding for this program is dispersed based on successful completion of each phase of the workforce program development benchmarks. How well that you meet the system development, program design, and program implementation benchmarks. Okay, some general information about the American Rescue Plan project. Ineligible projects are projects that directly improve facilities owned by an individual or for-profit entity. Projects primarily residential in nature. Projects that create community amenities such as swimming pools or recreation centers that are not specific to regional tourism, but are specifically for amenities that serve a certain area. Projects that directly support casinos or gaming are not eligible. projects that support general governmental or public safety operations, such as firehouses, public safety, municipal government buildings are not eligible. Projects that supplement operating budgets or replace lost revenue are not eligible, and projects that primarily directed at public health responses to the coronavirus, such as testing centers or vaccination centers, are not eligible. Now, in a project, if there is a need to provide activities such as providing PPE, if you were looking at doing workforce development training, and you needed PPE for those folks involved in that training, then that would be an eligible cost. Some key things that you need to remember is that our eligible applicants are states, counties, cities, special districts, Indian tribes, and nonprofits working in conjunction with a local unit of government. Another thing to remember is EDA does not reimburse for pre-award costs. Costs need to be incurred once an award is made. All projects under the American Rescue Plan will be subject to federal procurement and construction requirements. Property that is constructed or improved under these funds must be held by the applicant for its useful life, which is typically 20 years. Work can proceed only and if EDA issues an award document. In order to submit, the application has to be submitted through grants.gov, which requires a DUNS number and a registration that has a designated AOR. Matching funds must be fully committed, unencumbered, and readily available when the application is submitted. And finally, one of the most important things is the American Rescue Plan funds are available for making awards through September 30th of 2022. That means that EDA has to execute all awards prior to September 30th, 2022. Now, the performance period for the awards that we make can extend to no longer than September 30th, 2027, which means all projects have to be finished up somewhere around May of 2027 so that we have enough time to get closeout done prior to September 30th, 2027. Okay, how do you apply for funding? One of the most important things to do is go to grants.gov and print off the NOFOs and read those NOFOs. If you search 11.307 as the CDFA number, then you will be able to pull up all those NOFOs really easily and look at the ones that you might be interested in. I can't stress enough the importance of contacting your local development district for support in planning those projects. They can do the grant writing for those projects, provide statistics, working with the development district in terms of making sure the project is compliant with the SEDS. It's very important to let your development district know about the project and get their support. And also connecting with me is very important, as I can talk from project development and provide technical assistance throughout the application process. Some resources that help if you have a project that you are planning. The EDA's website, our American Rescue Plan Act webpage has a lot of resources available. We have frequently asked question pages, one-pagers, one-page overviews of all the programs. We have published on our ARPA resources tab. There is all the webinars that we've hosted, a wealth of webinars, general overviews, as well as specific webinars for all the programs. Those are there to watch at your leisure. And there's other applicant support tools that are there that will help answer a lot of questions that you may have. And again, I am available. My email is bpartin, PARTIN, @eda.gov. You can reach out to me if you have a specific project. The development district knows very well how to get in touch with me as well. So if you have a project idea, you most certainly can reach out to me and we can discuss any idea that you have for a project. So with that, that concludes my presentation. Is there any questions?
Thank you,
Yes,
Ms. Parton.
This is Mayor Black in LaGrange, Kentucky. Thank you for your presentation. Question I would have, are these allocations mostly pointed towards depressed areas in the state of Kentucky? We sit right outside of Louisville, so does that mean we would not be eligible? Or if we would submit a project in economic development or something of that type, could that be considered?
All areas in the nation are eligible due to the impact of the pandemic. Typically for EDA's traditional programs, you have to illustrate distress based on either, unemployment, per capita income, or a special need. But under this competition, all areas of the nation are eligible to apply because we know everyone has been impacted by the pandemic. So regardless of whether there's established distress that you can illustrate by, the metrics of low per capita income or high unemployment, you're going to be eligible just because you've been impacted by the pandemic. So you are eligible to apply.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Ms. Parton, for your time. A lot of good information there, a lot of good programs. If you are interested, get a hold of Ms. Parton, talk with her one-on-one about your project. I'm sure she can help. So,
Thank you all.
thank you. Moving on, agenda item 7, Transportation Policy Committee update. Andy?
Thank you. I've got 2 TPC meetings to report. We met in August, and just a few moments ago, that was after a 2-month hiatus. So we went from May to August to September. At our August meeting, a couple of agenda items of note. Staff presented our review of our NPO dedicated funds. Those are the funds that are getting distributed by the KIPDA Tpc. So there's a brief review on that. Nothing out of the ordinary. Typical quarterly update. We adopted some new transit safety targets. KIPDA Transportation Division, we've been adopting various performance measures over the last couple of years. Our planning processes. This was the last one. We believe it's the last set that we were required to include. These come to us from FTA. Tar test and transit safety targets. We adopted those directly as the regional targets. A working group of for our long range plan update was created or was announced. That'd be to cover our goals and objectives. And then Mark's executive director Carrie Butler, she presented along with her director of planning from Derek Tark. They presented on some of the efforts at the park. That's the August meeting. Like I said, we just met in this room at 12:30. So in September, we had a successful meeting. Items of note, we'll talk about one of them here in a moment. Nick Vail presented some information on our next update, or excuse me, our next amendment to our long range planning. The tip is our short range planning document. Greg Burris, our public outreach staff, he presented annual participation report. We announced the nominations are now open for what we call our KIPDA Award, Kentucky Indiana Transportation Excellence Award. We'll be announcing that at the November meeting, the award winner. We've got a new transportation online library that Greg showed off to the TPC. And we talked quite a bit about the KYTC shift process. And I'll have another agenda item here in a moment. And that concludes my report. We have to take any questions.
All right. Action request those things.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Andy? All right. Hearing none, need a motion and a second on his report.
Judge Vogel, motion.
David Eaton, second.
All right. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, sign. That item is approved. Item number 8, Regional Transportation Council. Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regional Transportation Council met here August 23rd at 1 o'clock. We approved the minutes from our April 22nd meeting. Had a public comment period. Talked about the county transportation updates in Henry, Shelby, Spencer, and Trimble counties. Heard a report on the Kentuckians for Better Transportation. The next agenda was presented on the preliminary draft of the KYTC shift 2022 prioritization plan. Judge Ison made a motion to approve the plan and second by Magistrate Travis. The next agenda item was the KIPDA staff presented to council members on the KYTC 2022 KIPDA add projects eligible to be boosted. There were 10 highway projects boosted in a total of in Henry, Shelby, Spencer, and Trimble counties. 2 were in Henry, 4 were in Shelby, 2 were in Spencer, and 2 were in Trimble counties. And Andy, I don't want to steal Andy's thunder, but he's going to talk about those projects in the next presentation. A motion was made by Judge Ison to move to approve the boost projects as shown as a 2022 KIPDA eligible spreadsheet. It was seconded by Judge Paula. And then the last agenda item was KIPDA staff presented on the goals and objectives to RTC. And KIPDA staff recommended adding a new goal would be to invest in sustainable transportation that protects environmental resources and minimize the effects of climate change. Judge Ison once again made a motion to approve the additional goal, and it was seconded by Judge Pollock. And our next RTC meeting will be at the annual meeting November 23rd at the Jeffersonian at 10:30 a.m. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Any motion to approve?
All right, any questions for Randy?
It's Todd Pollock. I'll make the motion.
Need a second, please.
John Park, I'll make that second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item is approved. Item number 9 on your agenda, KYTC shift 2022 process. Andy.
Thank you. With a brief presentation just to summarize a little bit what Randall and I each just spoke about. For those that for those in the room, it's over here on the right. Just a bit of a summary of what the shift process is. Shift.
Hold on, I don't think they're seeing it.
I'll keep talking, I'll summarize it. Shift process, Shift 2022. That is the process, Strategic Highway Investment for Tomorrow, formula for tomorrow, is the KYTC process that helps to feed their highway plan. Every other year, they have to develop a highway plan, a 6-year plan. You may have heard of it called that in the past. So they've developed a data-driven approach. This is about the 3rd or 4th version of Shift, if I'm not mistaken. So this one feeds their 2022 highway plan. Okay, so on the screen you should see a bit of the schedule recap. The way it works is basically the projects get filtered down. So there was a kind of a first cut, if you will, back in the springtime where projects had to be sponsored. Those projects got sponsored by a variety of agencies, including the KIPDA Tpc, the KIPDA Regional Transportation Council, KYTC, the district offices from around the state, District 5 in our region. So that was kind of the first cut. That got us a group of over 100 projects that got scored over the summer through the shift process. Transportation Cabinet has a formula that values economic development, congestion relief, safety, a couple other facets. All the projects got scored that made that first cut that got sponsored. Now we just wrapped up just an hour ago, kind of the deeper cut. That deeper cut is to what they call boost projects. Okay. So the boosting in our region Randall's RTC, the Regional Transportation Council, made up of the rural KIPDA counties, met on August 16th to approve those projects. The working group of, August 23rd, the Transportation County boosted projects on August 16th. The Transportation Technical Coordinating Committee convened a working group, and that happened a few weeks ago, where the projects in the MPO region were recommended to the TPC, and that happened today. The TPC did take TTC's recommendation. Again, it's all building up to that highway plan. Transportation Cabinet will develop that highway plan the rest of the year. General Assembly will see that highway plan and get it to early next year. Next slide. Okay, so again, a little bit about boosting. Boosting is what allows us as TPC, us as RTC, and them as KYTC to boost projects that say, out of this black box came a score for each project, and it allows us to give a boost to that score based on local priorities or a variety of criteria to the TPC's liking or the RTC's liking. So we're allowed to give 15 additional points for each of the projects. We can't split them. And at the bottom, you see only regional projects. What that means is that projects that were for interstates around the state of Kentucky, those were not eligible for boosting. Those were handled separately once it got past that first cut that I mentioned earlier, being a sponsored project. Next slide, we kind of show the differentiation between the rural process on the left, the urban process on the right. So again, as I said, the Regional Transportation Council met and approved 10 projects on August 23rd. Most of that justification was relied heavily on county level priorities that Randall had meetings over the prior months and even year, to establish what each county's priorities were and to make sure that the highest priority projects got boosted. On the MPO side, we had quite a few more projects to consider, and so we had to kind of take a different approach. We had that working group meeting that I mentioned, that was chaired by Mr. Keith Griffey himself, September 8th. We got TPC approval just about an hour ago on these projects, 21 projects. Those projects 10 and 21, by the way, I failed to mention, those are the amount of projects that were sub-allocated to us by KYTC based on population, lane miles of roadway, etc. In the MPO area, we use what we call the tiered priority approach. Tiered priority approach means we've got a little bit more data to work with. We had so many more projects to filter out. So we said, if a project is a high priority to the transportation cabinets, that's a good thing for it. If the project scored highly in our long-range planning efforts, that's a good thing for it too. Certainly it is. A couple other things were how far along a project is. If a project has already gone through its right-of-way or utility phase, for example, that project needs to keep getting support so we can see the finish line on that project. And there's also still room for things like local priorities. There's a couple projects that were clear local priorities that might have not scored well through the shift process, but really want to boost it. The local government really wanted to see that one boosted. So I'll go through them real quick. We can talk about it if we need to, but here's Henry and Trimble County's boost. The rest of the slides are just showing which projects get boosted. In Henry County, there were two segments of the Kentucky 146 project. It's been a long time desire of the county to see happen. In Trimble County, there's a couple projects, turn lane to the high school and an intersection improvement project there in Trimble County. Shelby and Spencer. Shelby had 4 projects boosted. A couple of them or actually 3 of them are real close. Those first 3 are pretty close to proximity to one another. Good improvements to Texas 55X at the intersection of 43. You have 60 project that goes just east of Shelbyville toward the connecting to the high school there at Rocket Lane. Another intersection improvement project a little bit near the exit 32 there at Texas 55. In Spencer County, there was a project that spanned the urban-rural divide, if you will. So we have an example of urban-rural divide being spanned here. That is a Kentucky 55 and 155 additional lane project that would span the section northwest of Taylorsville into Jefferson County, near where getting close to the east side. Also, there was an intersection improvement at 44 near Dutchman Road. On the urban side in Bullitt County, there were several Kentucky 44 projects that were boosted. That's been a long priority of the county, and it still is, to see Kentucky 44 improved in Norway. Interchange improvements at Kentucky 480, that's the interchange that has a lot of industrial growth over the last decade or more. See some improvements there, traffic improvements there for those ramps, as well as the road Kentucky 245. That's the road that goes from I-65 to moving toward Bardstown and to Burnham Forest. Improvements there. Again, on the bottom of the screen, it says, as recommended by the working group, the TPC did accept all of the TTCC working groups recommendations. This presentation was made before we do that. In Oldham County, several near, all of them are near I-71. First one is an interchange improvement up at the LaGrange exit, existing LaGrange exit, perhaps I should say, Kentucky 53. Pair that with a widening project just south of there, Kentucky 53 from I-71 to the south, the road called the Joseph Road. Kentucky 393 reconstruction project would be an extension of some work that's been done over the years, north of I-71. And then that last one is the new interchange that's been proposed near the Allen Lane overpass there. So that will be a new interchange just south of LaGrange, just south of the existing exit 22. Jefferson County had there's 11 projects boosted, plus the one that spans Spencer in Jefferson County. I won't read all these, but they run the gamut from several projects like that first one, Greenwood Road project. That project's been in the works for so long. That's one that needs to get over the finish line, quite frankly. We've got some projects that were not traditional widening projects. For example, traffic signal upgrades on premium transit corridors. That was one that Louisville Metro really wanted to see come to fruition there. Several safety improvement projects. Old Henry Road extension. That's another one that spans counties. That Old Henry Road would extend from the where Old Henry Road ends now, just northeast of Dean Snyder in northeast Jefferson County. That would extend that roadway out into Oldham County to Ash Avenue. And that last one is kind of a unique project called Reimagine 9th Street. Reimagine 9th Street would be what Louisville Metro has envisioned for the 9th Street corridor that's just in downtown, on the west side of downtown, if you will, connecting from Broadway to I-64. That's all I have.
Thank you, Andy. Any questions of Andy?
Were these booths shown by priority, or are they just randomly displayed on the screen?
The way I had them listed on the screen?
Yes.
I believe they were, yes, I believe the way they were listed on the screen is their, would sit after the TPC boosted them, the total score. That is the score that came out of the shift black box scoring system, if you will, plus, in many cases, 30 additional points. 15 that were assigned by KYTC, plus 15 more that were assigned by either the RTC or the TPC. So yeah, those were the orders. So those projects, all projects will be boosted, and then it'll be up to the Transportation Cabinet to select the projects downstream of our process here for the highway plan, for the recommended highway plan.
Well, I saw the Old Henry to Ash Avenue listed on Jefferson County booths, and I just wondered if those decisions were made before the announcement about Publix building that big grocery store on Old Henry, or afterward.
That's a good question. That project itself has been in KIPDA's Metropolitan Transportation Plan, our long-range document, for quite some time, as well as I believe it's in our TIP as well. So I think it's safe to assume that the concept has been studied well before any announcements.
Well, I mean, I may be guessing, but I think there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm for that store when it opens, and there could be a lot of additional traffic in that area.
Right.
Are there any other further questions? Thank you, Andy. That item does not require any action. Moving on to agenda item 10, ratification of PBA data purchase. Danielle, you're up. It looks like you don't get to sit down for a while.
Well, actually, we'll work on the issue. Agenda item number 10. So I am requesting ratification of the purchase of PBA parcel data totaling $30,000. This purchase received executive committee approval on September 3rd. The data will be used to update the regional hazard mitigation plan and excludes Jefferson County. A detailed breakdown of the expense per county can be found in your packet on page 34. The budget for this activity is unbudgeted hazard mitigation funds. How this will be used. To understand vulnerability, FEMA requires communities to analyze building risks to hazards. However, without accurate property data, it is nearly impossible to do so. Such an analysis is critical for hazards like flooding, which typically has a more predictable impact area. This analysis helps identify potential damages to the community, which informs priorities for mitigation investments from FEMA. Therefore, it is crucial that KIPDA obtain accurate property information. KIPDA is requesting PDA data for each of our hazard mitigation communities to meet this requirement and present an accurate assessment of risk for each of our communities. And we know as leaders of our counties and cities, you expect a robust plan that will ensure that your community stays eligible for FEMA funding. We had to go ahead and request executive action on this because in the past, this data has been free because KIPDA leads projects that provide a public benefit to our communities. Therefore, we assume that the data would be free moving forward and did not anticipate requesting board approval. It has also taken several weeks to hear back from the PDA agencies, which further delayed any board requests. In addition, we need to have our plan completed by mid-October in order for the Hazard Mitigation Council to approve it and then send it on to FEMA. This is crucial because our 2016 plan is expiring at the end of the year, which will make our communities ineligible for FEMA funds. We needed time to analyze the data and really couldn't afford to wait for the board meeting. Action is requested.
All right, any questions for Danielle? All right, need a motion and a second to approve the PDA data purchase.
Second, Todd Pollock.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item is approved. Item 11.
Yes, I'm requesting ratification of the signing of the American Rescue Plan or ARPA administration contracts. The full list of contracts can be found in your packet on page 35. So far, the fully executed contracts include contracts with Spencer County, Middletown, Shelbyville, Pleasureville, St. Regis Park, Plantation, Eminence, Firstborn, Meadowvale, Newcastle, Hillview, Prospect, and Pewee Valley. Action is required.
Any questions of Danielle on this item? Hearing none, need a motion and a second to approve the ratification of the signing of those contracts.
David Eaton, I'll make the motion.
Todd Pollock, I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item is approved. Moving on, item 12.
I'm requesting approval for KIPDA to enter into contract with Global Water to administer Senate Bill 36 Cleaner Water Grant Program funds for 5 projects with a total contract amount of $101,000. Those are all projects located on Eagles Road, Highway 694, John Lee, and West Muhammad Ali. Action is requested.
All right, need a motion and a second for this item, if I could, please.
Make the motion, John Black.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. That item is approved. Danielle, keep going. Item 13.
Yes, requesting approval to utilize EDA COVID funding to procure a consultant to perform a broadband feasibility study for the KIPDA region. I allocated $100,000 in the budget for this purpose in the event the board would want to pursue this avenue. This would provide each county with a comprehensive overview of the broadband needs with the necessary mapping required to apply for state funds. I highly recommend this approach and welcome to any questions related to this. Just to be clear, this is again the EDA funding that we received, but a little less than $400,000 for economic resiliency planning, specifically to respond to the pandemic. We have already received approval from DLG and the EDA to utilize the funds for this purpose.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second.
All right, thank you. Have a motion to second. Any questions of Danielle on this item? All right, all those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item is approved.
Thank you.
Continue, please.
Yes, okay. I'm going to provide a brief update on CDBG utility assistance. I'm going to say that we are approximately 80% complete on compiling the required evidentiary materials for the 12 utility assistance grants. As you all know, some of this takes a long time. There's budget amendments that require, first and second readings. There's passing of resolutions and such. So as those things get accomplished, which those are all in the motion as being accomplished, we are expecting estimated completion. We think will be at the latest mid-October. We could potentially have some cities and counties complete before then, but DLG is requiring that everyone in the region, every single entity, so all 12 applications, all of those materials have to be complete for each of those entities before they will release the funds for anyone. So based on that information, we think that it's probably mid-October before that will occur, but we will keep you updated as we know more.
Any questions of Danielle on the CDBG funding?
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, agenda item 15, fiscal year 2022 social services business.
I just have a couple of items, and basically this is an update. I'm requesting that the board give the executive director permission to sign the modifications for our FY21 and 22 contracts, and then those contracts that are simply for FY22. These original contracts as issued did not include any of our CARES or COVID funds that carry forward into this year. And they also did not have the actual allocations that came later in July. So the Department of Aging and Independent Living is having to do a modification in order to include those funds and allow for spending. So I'm asking for authorization for first the FY21 and 22, the biannual contracts, and those include Medicaid ADRC, home care SHIP, long-term care ombudsman, Kentucky caregiver.
All right, need a motion on this item, please.
Motion to approve, Mayor John Black.
Second. All right, have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. That item is approved.
And then my second request is for authorization for the executive director to sign on the FY22 contracts that include the modifications of those contracts that include those same funds for the Title III, Title VII, MIFA, and SIP.
All right, need a motion and a second on this item, please.
I'll make that.
Bernie has a second. Any further discussion on that item? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Opposed, same sign. That item is also approved. Thank you, Lynn. Item 16, Senior Center updates and Senior Appreciation Month. Jessica.
Hello, and thank you for your approval of the last item. So excited to be standing before you today to say that senior centers are open. They're open at least one day a week in each center, and it's going quite well. So all 9 senior centers are open on a limited basis. Attendance has been steady and has not declined since the sites began to reopen. Just a little information for you on this point. Last week, a total of 1,016 clients were on site at the senior center and nutrition sites combined. They're offering classes such as Tai Chi, Sabri, Tai Chi, arthritis. I always have a problem with saying that word. Quilting, aerobics, water aerobics, yoga, swimming, and so many others. And starting next Monday, we're revamping our transportation, and I'll keep you all updated on how that's going. Our planners, myself, have been working directly with providers to get in wheels to make sure that we are planning appropriately for that. Even with the workforce challenges, they've managed to, pace this in a way that we're very confident that we'll continue to grow as we move forward. But I know that y'all have been waiting for that final statement that we actually do have all of them open for limited days per week. And I'll run through them real quickly so you know which one's in your area, and then send out the updated version. So Elder Serve is at 5 days a week. Tri-County Oldham is Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Henry is Wednesdays. Trimble is Wednesdays. HCM is on Monday and Tuesday. JFCS is Monday through Friday. Bullitt is Monday. Shelby is Monday, and Spencer is Tuesday. And I'll take any questions you have about what's happening with senior center reopening.
Any questions for Jessica?
No? Okay. Well, thank you.
Hearing none, thank you. Item 17, employee dishonesty bond. Tom.
Thank you. In the past, we've had a separate policy for employee dishonesty, which was for excess coverage above the coverage that comes with our KIPDA policy. KIPDA policy covers $150,000 per incident. And we've had a policy in effect for excess liability exposure from employee dishonesty. When we were talking with the insurance company this year about the renewal, they talked about some additional coverage to cover computer fraud by individuals other than employees. We had the same type of coverage with KIPDA on that for, again, up to $150,000. But they hadn't included this in the pricing before for the excess coverage. So to have what we had previously for employee dishonesty, plus to increase for computer fraud by individuals other than employees, they've quoted a rate this year for $6,127 for the period beginning October 1st, for the 12-month period. We've been in touch with KIPDA and they looked at the proposal and they think it makes sense. And we would request permission to proceed with renewal with the expansion to cover any outside. And this would be for an additional $2 million. I'd like to answer any questions.
Any questions of Tom? Hearing none, all those in favor, just need a motion first. Motion second, please.
Todd Pollock, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item is approved. Item 18, personnel report for September. Kelly.
Thank you. So this is from August, since we did not meet, but we have a few new hires. Jenny Witt was hired as a connector effective August 23rd in social services. She has a bachelor's degree in food services and a minor in business from EKU, and comes to KIPDA from Hospice, where she worked as a special event coordinator. Valerie Moore over here, stand up, Valerie. I'm trying to embarrass you. Was hired as a transportation planner 1 effective August 30th in the Division of Transportation. She has a bachelor's degree in applied geography and a minor in political science from the University of Louisville, comes to KIPDA from Rainbow Design Services, where she worked as a designer in training. Spencer Williams it was also hired as a transportation planner effective August 30th in the Division of Transportation. He too has a bachelor's degree in applied geography from the University of Louisville, and comes to KIPDA from Rainbow Design Services, where he worked as a designer in training. And no, they didn't know each other before they came here. Weird, right?
Yeah, I met before, but I didn't know.
That they were each, yeah. It wasn't a scam or anything. Okay. And then we also had Jackie Duke, who was hired as a service advisor September 16th in the Division of Social Services. She has a bachelor's and master's degree in social work from Troy University. She comes to KIPDA from Fairbanks Rescue Mission in Alaska, where she worked as a supportive services for veterans and families healthcare navigator. We did have 3 resignations. The first was Kit Lindsay, who resigned as the vehicle maintenance and safety coordinator for the Every Commute Counts program in the Division of Transportation, effective August 27th. Jennifer Craig resigns as our Aging and Disability Resource Center Coordinator in the Division of Social Services effective September 30th. And Olivia Rancine resigns as the Community and Economic Development Specialist in the Division of Community and Economic Development effective October 19th. So currently we have 2 permanent position vacancies. One's still the connector in social services. One is the Director of Transportation, although Andrew Rush is serving as the interim Director of Transportation. We also have an internship that's new in the community Division of Community and Economic Development. This is a part-time position, grant funded, and will end June 30th. Job descriptions for all of these positions and the internship can be found on our website at KIPDA.org/careers. So that concludes, well, we have 83 full-time permanent, 5 part-time permanent. Somebody's calling me, and 1 part-time temporary. Probably my mom, she calls me a lot. Call her the Geico mom, she calls at really inopportune times, okay? So that concludes my personnel report. Action is requested. It's true. Somehow she got our line.
All right, need a motion and a second to approve the report.
David Vogel, motion.
It's true.
All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Same sign. All right, that item is approved. Kelly, I'm laughing because my mother does the same thing at council meetings. I'll be sitting there, my phone will be vibrating, and everybody's looking at me going, what's going on?
It's like that commercial where the guy's, he's like an agent, he's on the helicopter and his mom's calling him, and she's at the pool, what are you doing? Nothing, mom, is, saving the world. Okay.
And that's what you said. Right?
Yes, saving the world. One personnel report at a time.
There we go. All right, Kelly, you're still up on the maintenance request for proposal.
Okay, so every 3 years, we issue an RFP for building maintenance contracts. And so we did the last one in 2018, obviously, and so we're ready to do it again. This would be asking board approval to issue an RFP for the following maintenance contracts: garbage and recycling, HVAC, cleaning, electrical, plumbing, pest control, and lawn care, snow removal. So we would issue this RFP in October and bring the results to the board in November with a recommendation, and the contracts would begin January 1st, 2022. So action is requested to approve me issuing an RFP for the maintenance contracts.
All right, need a motion and a second on this item, please.
Motion to approve the RFP for the maintenance contract.
Vogel, second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. You can call your mother now.
I can.
Wish her well from all of us.
I will.
Intergovernmental reviews. Item 20 on the agenda, Jared.
Thank you. Intergovernmental reviews A through H in your agenda have been submitted for local review. They are now ready for board approval, and they can all be taken together. Action is requested.
All right, need a motion and a second on this item. So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those, or any questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those are approved. Anything else? No. Item 21, Executive Director's Report.
We again have no travel, but I do want to recognize the SEDS division. In October would be the National Association of Development Organizations annual conference. It's in Portland. Typically, the executive committee is invited to attend, as well as myself as executive director. We all decided this year to sit this one out, so we are not traveling to Portland. But NATO does have an impact award. The awards recognize projects for their creative efforts in advancing regional economic development and improved quality of life. And the SEDS division's Resilient Kentuckiana plan was recognized for this award. So I think that's a nice feather in the cap for the division. And just a reminder, the Resilient Kentuckiana is the first tool of its kind in the region that contains resources for local government. businesses, and community members. Resilient Kentuckiana supports the region's vision for economic development and improved quality of life by creating a relationship of accountability between regional plans and resources necessary to meet the needs of the community. So again, great job by the SEDS division. A little quick update on my activities. In July, when Tony Wilder, who's the executive director of the Kentucky Council of Ads, mentioned that I had taken on some more leadership roles within the ad network, he was referring to my nomination to the executive committee of the Kentucky Association of District Directors, and also my placement as the chair of the Health and Family Services Committee that oversees our DEL programs as well as the other social services activities. In this capacity, I reached out to Senator Adams regarding the Home and Community-Based Waiver Task Force that she co-chairs, and received an invitation to testify along with Jessica at the hearing earlier this week on Monday. This was an opportunity to discuss the ads involvement in waiver, the challenges to serving, and recommendations for improvement. Jessica was critical in developing the presentation. I want to recognize her efforts. And also for those that were at the Governor's Local Issues Conference, Jessica spoke on the ads behalf about our aging activities across the state. So it was, again, another wonderful opportunity for Jessica to highlight all the activities and good work that we do. So thank you, Jessica. You've did a great job with both the testimony and at your presentation. And finally, the annual meeting. We are still planning on having the annual meeting at the Jeffersonian on November 23rd. And the past annual meeting had been the larger scale event where we invited all of our partners. With COVID still an issue, we are going to scale back. So we will still be presenting a lunch, but it'll be after the Regional Transportation Council and the Transportation Policy Committee meet. We'll have lunch with committee members and board members, and then we'll have our board meeting. So just kind of an update on how that will go, and we will be sending out invitations as that gets closer. And the meetings for next month, we have the Regional Water Management Council meeting on October 12th at 1:30. The Transportation Policy Committee on October 28th at 12:30. And then the October KIPDA Board of Directors, it's in your handout wrong, but it is also October 28th at 2 o'clock. This concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Jared. I was getting a little concerned because the next board of directors is actually on the day that my daughter's getting married. So I thought I might have to beg mercy and get out of one, and I don't know which one I would give approval for. All right. Item 22, other business to come before the board. Is there any other items that members want to bring forward? All right, seeing and hearing none, then I will adjourn the meeting. We'll call it at 3:18. Thank you much for your attendance, and we will look forward to seeing you in October.